Hello and welcome into Titan Talks once again. I'm joined by Kilgoon and Pompon is here as well to go over balance this time round. How do we normally start these ones off? Because first of all, it's been a while since me and you've been on a show together.
Yeah, it has.
I'll tone it down based off where we used to be.
Yeah, I saw the banter you had with Clumsy.
Yeah, well, it'll start, I guess, for the most part. But we'll see how it goes on. What do we normally do at the beginning? We just go straight into balance, or?
Yeah,
normally we bullshit for a couple minutes.
A bit of bullshit. I like that.
But
I love the fact we can swear on these shows now. It's great. Yeah.
I don't have any big announcents.
Okay.
There have been a couple hot fixes that we have rolled out that I don't know if we've posted anything about those yet, but
not yet. No, but there is a hotfix that went out for a Sobek issue that was in game as well. It was literally just hotfix as well. So that's out there, and a couple of other small things on the back end that are just going to clean a few things up. Pom, before we turn to balance, I guess the first question on my lips is, what's the kind of direction we were looking at with the balance this?
Yeah, so I mean, we're obviously still dealing with the kind of change in the meta that's happened with all the healing pass stuff. So there's a few things there.
Yep.
I think one thing that's kind of come out of that was the tanks ended up feeling pretty good, but the mages, especially with mage itemization, felt like you kind of had a one build path to go if you wanted to deal damage, and only certain mages could do it.
Okay.
So this pass has a lot of focus on like mage items that weren't doing particularly well, just bringing them up so that they're more usable. A few other fixes there related to like mage items that could just be more interestingly used. And then for other classes, we also looked at other items that are underperforming. So I think we're largely close to set on like the top end power of like where like the A and like S tier items are.
Yeah.
Like when you make your tier list. And we want to try and bring up some of those like B and C's closer to the A, because I think the top end power where people feel right now, like how long it takes to kill people and that kind of stuff, feels pretty good. We just want more variety in what you're picking. Yeah. And then for God side of things, it was mostly again characters that felt like they were underperforming, or just like the top end characters. Like Chalk was an example of a character who's been really, really, really strong for a while.
He's getting nerfed
for a long time.
Yeah,
he's getting the nerfs. Well, without further ado,
I look forward to not having to face Chalk at his current power level. For
he'll
much
still
longer.
he'll still be
good.
He'll still be
He's
there.
just so damn annoying.
Let's have a look then.
Almost as annoying as your Giannis this morning.
My Giannis this morning. It was my second game of Giannis.
Utilizing two of the buffed
Utilizing
items.
the new buffed items.
Yes.
Let me tell you, the mages are swinging, and Giannis was swinging anyway, but now he's swinging even harder. Without further ado, we'll go into balance then, and I'll bring up the handy-dandy desktop. I'm going to start off with God balance straight away, as that's the way Pon sent it to me. So we're doing gods first and items after.
Sounds good.
I'm not sure if that's normal, but that's what we're doing today. So, top of the shop, you can see it's Agni is the first one on the list. Agni's going to see a decrease in his scaling on the ultimate from 65% to 60%. But not only that, the aspect of combustion, his aspect. We're going to decrease the ignite scaling from 3% to 2% and decrease consume scaling from 80% to 70%.
Yep, Agni just a little bit overperforming. We also think that some of the mage items is going to help him out in particular, so we wanted to do a preemptive nerf there just because he's doing really well. He's actually doing really well on both sides, aspect and non-aspect. He's actually one of the more like consistent across both of those play styles, doing pretty well. It's
actually really interesting to see him flexible quite a lot in competitive play as well. Being able to pick him early and then maybe draft him to the dual lane or the mid lane as well. Next on the list is Athena. Not seen too much Athena lately, and this may help her out. Her confound, the taunt for those at home, decrease the taunt duration protection scaling threshold from 150 protections to 115, which means you should be able to get this up more often.
Yeah, this will mean that when you get enough item protections, your taunt will last longer and the threshold's easier to get to. This was something that people pointed out, like we did a whole protection kind of squish.
Yeah.
And we didn't really address characters that had this type of scaling. After looking at it, really Athena and Hades, so you'll see Hades later on the list. Those two characters felt like they could use some adjustments. The other protection scaling things largely still felt fine. So we're just kind of focused on making sure that those thresholds are more like the appropriate difficulty to hit.
Sure. Next up is going to be Chak with the nerf that we mentioned. Thunderstrike increased the cooldown of this. It was going 10 to 8 seconds. Now going to be 10 seconds at all ranks.
Yep.
And Torrent decreased the base damage from 100 to 340. Is now going to be 80 to 300. So some base change there as well as some cooldown.
Yep, especially Thunderstrike, because that's also like limiting his potential mobility that he has access to. That's going to be a more substantial nerf than just kind of what's listed there. And then Torrent, just a very high base damaging ability along with everything else, just taking the edge off that, especially if you're going to get multiple uses of that in a fight. That's going to end up lowering his top end kill potential on targets.
Next on the list is Cupid. This is more of a fix than a real buff or a change here, but share the love with fixing the issue with this ability, was not providing mana heal effect after picking up a heart, and was also not providing Cupid health when allies picked up a heart.
Yep.
So a little bit of a buff towards Cupid there to help him out, more of a fix than a buff. Hades, we just mentioned.
does that then count as like for things that trigger off healing? Does that count as a heal when your ally picks up on
it? Should count as ability healing.
Okay,
it should.
Check with regrowth. Striders. I was going to say pendant. I don't know why I say pendant. Regrowth Striders. In your games, Hades, we mentioned the Athena buff. Well, this is similar in that the Shroud of Darkness. We've decreased the silence duration protection scaling threshold from 125 to 100. And I believe that they stack twice on those, don't they? So I believe it's an extra 0.4 seconds if you get over 200 protections for Hades or 230 protections for Athena.
Yep.
Next up, Ho Yi. Ho Yi, recent released, seems that he's going to be getting a bit of a nerf here.
Real good.
Yeah, he released, his base was very good.
Yeah.
His aspect was even better, doing like some of the highest numbers we've had on like an aspect release. We toned down the aspect, so that's now more reasonable. But Hu Yi overall is just still performing really well, so this is the adjustments we're making to try and take that down a notch.
Okay, so Sun Touch, first of all, increased the health threshold for Sun Touch to trigger from 20% to 25%. We've also updated the tooltip to state that Sun Touch cannot trigger again while Sun Touch is active.
Yep, so that's just a clarification on its rules.
Then it comes to the actual changes themselves. Ricochet, we're going to see 95 to 295 is now going to be 85 to 285, so 10 scaling off that, 10 damage off that. And Dive Bomb, we've increased the cooldown. It was flat 15 seconds. It's now going to scale down, so you do want to put points in this if you want that extra mobility. I will say, like, his mobility was really good with the change we made with the +1s, but I could make sense of why we're going to increase the cooldown a little bit more.
Yeah, the amount of safety you had in lane, also Ricochet, its damage, the base amplifies for every bounce, so this on higher bounces is going to take quite a bit of damage off the top end. We like the change that we made to Dive Bomb. It feels really fluid and really smooth, but it does mean that he's just way safer than he was in Smite 1. We feel like a cooldown adjustment's appropriate here.
Makes sense. And that's that with Ho Yi. Moving on, we're going to see a Carly change now. I'm scared of leaking stuff early, but it's too late. Carly, we're going to see a nerf here as well. Decrease the per level health gain. 97.5 to 92.6. This will result in 98 less health at level 20. Goodness, we really hurt her.
Yes.
A whole 98 health. And
hey, the number of times she gets away with just a fraction of health.
I will mention, so Wheelish. Wheelish overperforming, nerf.
Yeah.
Largely still fine. We shipped this balance change to her, and she is like the least performing character in the game now.
So we're not thinking the other changes did anything. It was the health change by 98 health that changed.
Losing like out on like that amount of base health is just it's essentially like every single fight you are just noticeably weaker no matter what happens by a significant chunk. These types of changes are one of those ones that like you don't feel as directly. You'll just feel in the sense that the character just doesn't feel as strong anymore.
Yeah, and decreasing your base attack speed kind of has a similar effect there, right?
And that means that like
the base attack speed definitely a bit more impactful because of the aspect as well. I guess this hits.
Yes, it does affect the aspect as well. Both sides of like aspect and non-aspect feel like they could use this nerf. And it's just it means that like so when you buy 10% attack speed, it's 10% of your base value. So 10% of 1 is 0.1. 10% of 0.97 is 0.97.
Good job.
Right, 0.097?
Yeah.
0.097.
0.097, yep.
So this just means that all attack speed is effectively worse on her than it was before.
So Carly going to see a bit of a change there. Will affect her in both. Next up is...
And someone mentioned in chat just all gods have a base attack speed of 1. That's not true. Gods do have varying different ones even in Smite 2. We've normalized it closer to 1, but there is still diversity in the amount of attack speed people have at level 1.
Okay. Well, next up is going to be Neath, and this is more of a shift here. Broken Weave, we've increased the strength scaling from 15% to 20%, decreased the intelligence scaling from 25% to 20%, increased the attack speed scaling from 2% to 3% strength per stack, decreased intelligence bonus from 10 to 8, decreased intelligence bonus per level 0.5 to 0.4, and intelligence at level 20 per stack is now 20 to 16. This feels like a shift more towards strength and less away from the intelligence, which we've seen a lot of just lately.
Yeah, so intelligence Neath is doing really, really, really well. Strength focused Neath is not performing as well. And we think that Broken Weaves is something that Neath should play with on both sides. If you're focused on strength, you want to be popping them to get like the attack speed stuff.
Yeah.
If you're int, you want to be actually using that to just blow people up. And so we want them both to be supported. So we're just making the strength side of that better, the inside of that weaker, and then also taking damage off Unravel. It's a big AoE. It's really effective poke. At 90% scaling, it can really start off a team fight in a really strong way. So taking 10% off there also helps.
I guess taking into account we're about to buff some intelligence items anyway, which you'll see later on. So we may end up seeing her still be just as fine as before. and may even need more tuning, but we'll see how that one goes. Next up is going to be Ul with more of a fix, I believe. Wield Axe. Fix an issue where he would get the previous rank strength and lifesteal while in Axe stance if he ranked the ability in Axe stance.
This was a fun one to fix. It was just it was essentially a +1 error.
Just hidden away.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. Next up is going to be Vulcan. How's Vulcan been doing? I'm guessing this is a shift, so you think he's been doing okay, but needs some tweaks.
This will be, I think, overall it's a nerf.
Okay.
It's a shift in the sense that there is one mod that just felt underwhelming, and so we're doing something pretty extreme to try and see if it can be more competitive with the other choices.
Okay, so the Master Craftsman mod, the Alternator mod. This is the one where you get the Thumper or you get the turret on alternate cooldowns.
So Alternator is the one where they swap in
That's
place
the
on
one.
the ability versus going into your consumable slot.
This is decrease the Thumper's cooldown from 12 seconds to 6 seconds, and after you cast Thumper, you will need 6 seconds to cast Inferno Cannon again. So we've really just lowered the cooldown of the second ability there to allow you for the Alternator to get them up a bit more often.
Yeah, if you want to have the highest frequency of placing down turrets, this should be the way to go now. It's just going to be significantly faster than the consumable option. You do lose the flexibility, obviously, in having both available at once, but this should at least make it more competitive.
And then the Thermal mod would decrease the bonus backfire and Magma Bomb scaling from 30% to 20%. So that was just overperforming a little bit?
Yeah, that was just really overperforming. It was doing a lot of damage.
You kind of just always pick that one.
Yeah, you always pick that one because it just made your wombo combo just that much more lethal. So taking off the scaling there should bring it more in line with the other choices.
And last but not least, Earthshaker, the ultimate. Short range Earthshakers should be less impactful, as it is here, but max range Earthshakers will remain hitting as hard as they currently do. Interesting.
Yep.
I guess because the travel time's a little bit short upon, so it's kind of easy to confirm that damage.
Yeah, we made changes. It just feels like when you just drop it in short range, it feels like you can confirm it on a team fight pretty easily that way, and it does a metric ton of damage still. This means that now that style play is I'll still do damage, it's still gonna be good, but I don't want to just nerf it and make it the max range. You want the long ones where you see the 2,000 number pop up. It should definitely still hit that hard. So
especially because most of the time those really long range ones, you've got to predict a lot, and also you're doing it mainly over walls and things where you can't even see. So
so I want to make sure that was rewarding. But the short range one where you just drop it on top of yourself, they'll be less impactful.
Well, in that case, it's going to be decrease the base damage from 320 to 720 is now going to be 285 to 645. Decrease the intelligence scaling of this from 120% to 110%. However, increase the max distance damage multiplier 1.5 times to 1.65 times.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it for your God balance this week. This week, next week, I guess, and for the patch coming out on Tuesday. We'll move on to items next. And the first one, you mentioned items. It was mainly going to be focused towards the intelligence items for mages, but is there anything else we expect to see here?
I think that's the big one that I think people are going to kind of take away from this patch. There's obviously a lot of other adjustments in here, but this one is probably the big, looking at mage itemization that was underperforming and trying to bring them up closer to things like Spear of Desolation.
Okay, item balance on Ancient Signet. We've seen a buff here. Increased intelligence from 75 to 80 and increased mana from 200 to 250. I think we started to see a little bit more play of that, but it does feel like it was maybe a little bit undertuned.
So this also is probably more impactful with the next bullet point we're about to discuss, but it was close to point balance. It was still a little bit underperforming, but we think that this item will actually work really well with Book of Thoth, which is getting a buff.
And that buff is going to be increase the mana conversion before evolution from 4% to 5%, but also increase the mana conversion after evolution from 6% to 7%. So overall, that's just going to be flat base damage increases after you've built this, and it's going to get better as the game goes up.
Yeah, but it's going to work better with your mana items like Ancient Signet now being buffed, or like Polynomicon, or any of those types of items.
Yeah. Divine Ruin, also going to be seeing a buff here. Now only triggers on god damage, increase the intelligence scaling from 10% to 20%, and decrease the cooldown of the activation of this from 20 seconds to 15 seconds.
Yep, we saw the feedback that it didn't feel as impactful as it could after the removal of the anti-heal.
Yep.
And we said, we think this passive has room to actually be really, really useful and really good. Making it god damage only, increasing the scaling, making it happen more frequently. Those are all things that make it so that it procs when you want it to and in the ways that you want it to.
Someone in chat just said Ruin is buildable now already, just with that one note.
Hell yeah.
Gem of Focus, increase the cooldown rate from 10 to 20. So it's 20 cooldown rating on this now?
Yep, 20 cooldown rate.
Makes it a little bit more viable, I guess, because there's not that much 20 cooldown rate.
Yeah, there's not many items that give you that much cooldown rate. It's a fairly cheap option, and it also just kind of works well with its passive. And then it's paired with Tekokage in this list because those are the two items that are we're trying to keep them like one's strength, one's in focus, but we also try and keep like their cost difference and what they focus on. So Tekokage is going the other side, which is we're just going to make the strength higher on that side of it.
As you can see there, Tekokage increased strength from 50 to 60. Next up, a big community go on.
And I was going to say, I think it's also kind of helps separate Gem and Focus a little more from why am I blanking out on it? The orb, Doom Orb, right? They were kind of similar, and we're still trying to push those more separate.
Well, Tekokage, we said, was an increase, but the next one is regrowth striders. Now, I think a lot of people complain, movement speed, Pon. We gave it movement speed, and everyone lost their minds.
Yep, it was pretty good. See, here's just my little soapbox.
Do it.
We regrowth striders, it always had the word regrowth in its text, and that always didn't feel like it actually really cared about regrowth as a thing in SMITE 1. So that's why we added like that heal over time, but also now it has this movement speed. Like, it's an item that like the actual name of the item has driven a lot of its design. But yeah, having this much movement speed is just really good. And so decaying down to 0% instead of 10%, starting at a lower amount just means that the amount of vroom vroom you go is less.
Yeah, but so only a second or two, if that. For the most part, you're going to see the effect of that. I guess it is one of those items that does have a double passive, which not many do.
Yes.
So I think it stands out a little bit more. But movement speed is always king, as people say. Next up is going to be Runeforged Hammer. This is getting quite a buff by the looks of it. Increased strength from 40 to 45. Increased item protection scaling from 50 to 65%. Also decreasing the cooldown to 30 seconds from 40. And increased cooldown reduction on applying hard crowd control from 3 seconds to 6 seconds.
Yep. So by looking at some underperforming items on the mage side, this one also stood out because we were looking at how this compared to other kind of solo lane bruiser style items and felt that it could use some love, just making it more impactful when you actually build the item protection scaling, making it happen more frequently and give you more agency over getting that cooldown reduced.
Yeah, interesting to see that picked up a few more times. Next up is going to be Soul Gem. So wall of text here, Pon. You want to go over it with me?
Yeah, very briefly.
Yeah.
Soul Gem in SMITE 1 considered all hits, not just enemy hits. So if you Giannis thresholded and your allies walked over or you walked over it, that counted as a hit for the stack of Soul Gem. We're moving back to that because we think that, one, it gives it a better application for characters. Like, it gives them a more like targeted way of actually making it useful for them.
Yeah.
So like your supports that have a whole bunch of team utility can now buy this more effectively than someone who's just a pure damage dealer. And with that change, we're also doing a whole bunch of stat shifting around to it just to make sense. The only other part of this is we had kept the healing on it pretty strong from the healing pass because we felt that this item was underperforming. So like if we don't move the healing that much, that might just bring it into balance.
Okay.
But now that we think it has a much stronger identity, it's going to be doing more damage more consistently. Its intelligence is higher. We also took down the healing kind of more akin to what the healing pass would have normally brought it down to.
Okay, so with that, you're going to see the adjusted this. The stack proc happens once per ability. Proc damage happens once per target per ability. Increase the intelligence from 40 to 60. Increase the base heal from 5 to 20. But decrease the heal per level from 10 to 6. Level 1 is 15 to 26. And level 20 is 205 to 140 as the example there. So expect to see a little bit more burst coming from this item if people pick this up, but the sustain from this item is definitely going down.
Yeah, and some characters are just going to love this item a lot more, like Giannis.
Yep.
He was the example case that brought really to like our center of attention on like the ally hit rule, where like people were used to playing Soul Gem on Giannis to specifically, as you're traveling through the portals, as you're crossing over threshold, you'd enter a fight pretty much with this always stacked, and you weren't doing that anymore. It just didn't feel like useful on Giannis, so that moves it more towards it. That's kind of his buff this patch too. He doesn't have another
buff. Personal Giannis buff.
Yeah. Yeah. He's in that weird spot of like he's underperforming and probably could use a buff, but that's also the state that Giannis is always in, where people feel like he's fair.
Sure.
Because he has so much mobility, he has so much team control. So we're holding off on more Giannis buffs, but this itemization pass should help him out indirectly.
Next up on the list is going to be Daybreak Gavl. This is another wall of text here. Daybreak Gavl, do you want to talk a little bit about this?
Yeah. So now, especially because Soul Gem considers ally healing or ally hits, and Daybreak was working on healing, which is similar to like team things that you're doing. It was very similar. You build stacks and your next ability does 40% scaling. They were already close in functionality, but now they were just too close. It felt like they just occupied the same space. Daybreak Gavl wasn't seeing super success. It wasn't super interesting to people, so we've changed it to be a bit more interesting, hopefully, in that it now, as you get those stacks, your next non-healing will consume all of them, giving you just a flat amount of strength for a very long period of time. And this is interesting and different in how it used to work, because you can now do things like, if you go on heal yourself 1, and then you get the cooldown reduced and you heal yourself again, it will refresh and add to the stacks.
Okay.
So you can immediately burst it to 4 if you want to, or you can try and maintain it with low cooldown healing abilities.
Okay, so just to recap there, remove the on ability use consume all stacks. This ability is 10% strength and intelligence scaling per level, max 40%. It's now on new healing ability. Use consume all the stacks, gaining 13 strength or 16 intelligence based on highest item stat for 8 seconds per stack, max of 4. So you will see that consistently be a little bit more damage available to you. Next on the list is Staff of Myrden. Myrden? Decrease the cooldown 120 to 80 seconds. I think that was kind of needed with how often it felt like a very long time, 2 minutes.
Yeah, it was a long cooldown. It has really high potential to break the game, and because you're cheating 2 cooldowns.
Yep.
But we've seen it at 120 seconds. We've seen it at the power it's at. It's probably fine to let this be stronger. And let's focus, instead of just giving it int to make it like more easy to build and builds, let's just let you use the effect more frequently.
Give that a little bit more often. And then next up is Totem of Death. Increase the intelligence from 45 to 60.
Yeah, this should be something that you can pick up on your team to like essentially replace like an Executioner's, but it just felt like it was too difficult to do. So an Executioner was just going to be a better version of this. So this should be able to fit in characters that want to use it more, like your Merlins, your Anubises, stuff like that.
Next up, Typhon's Heart. Quite a big buff change here. Typhon's Spawn will now only consider targets in combat. What's his name?
Mike. I did have in the text here Mike Typhon.
That's off.
I did change it to Typhon.
You could have left it. But Typhon Spawn, Mike Typhon, will now only consider targets in combat to attack. Will prioritize gods over any other target. Typhon Spawn will now retreat to their owner if they are separated by more than 13.2 meters. Increase the damage scaling from him from 20 to 30% intelligence. Increase Typhon's spawn health from 50 to 55 per level. Increase the intelligence amount from 40 to 50. So overall, he's going to be bigger and he's going to run around more rampant looking for the actual fights that are going on.
Yeah, so this is a big AI pass for him. We kind of let him have new WoW minion AI, which largely just tries to run for. It holds the W key.
Yeah.
And that makes it just really hard to actually, one, you don't even see it often. And it'll get distracted by a lot of things like a random jungle camp on the way. So one, if the jungle camp's not in combat, it's not going to try and focus it. If you choose to engage the jungle camp, then it'll try and fight it. And if it just can't, if you're too far away from it, it'll actually retreat back to you and stay with you. So no more, like one thing that would happen pretty frequently was, let's say you won a team fight and you wanted to use it to push.
Yeah.
It actually moved so fast at that point that it just literally ran to the tower
Just
and died before you could even get there.
Yeah.
Now it'll actually try and stay by you.
Interesting. So it's kind of on a leash almost, just to keep you in range.
And why I say this will be better, I think the amount of like a little bit of weirdness in how it moves, you'll understand why this is not a thing saying that we're gonna do Scotty and Caldier soon. This is not us doing the Caldier tech.
Prefacing already. Yep.
But it does mean that like Typhon's Heart will just feel better overall.
Umbral Link is next on the list, and that's just going to get a cost adjustment here. 200 gold reduction, 2,700 to 2,500 was quite expensive.
Yeah, it was really expensive. We see it actually see some success in our data, but we just think it needs to be more approachable, more buildable for people to try it.
I think it's actually better than people give it credit for in the right circumstance.
Yeah, it really is. You're committing to that kind of like bruisery, high lifesteal style build, and you're focused on getting your team.
Yeah, that's a problem. You team play. That's the issue. It's like it's personal play. That's why everybody.
Next thing you're gonna ask me to buy wards. Gosh.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Titan's Conch is the next thing on here, which is also getting above 20 to 25, and decrease the cost from 2,800 to 2,700, and increase the base strength aura from 7 to 10.
Yeah, and this is focused on the strength side. So this is a kind of another aura item that can help your team out. It's another bruiser item that just brings that utility to your team. And we want to increase the strength side of it so that when you are actually like building this as a tank, you can notice it more in your basic attacks. You can notice it more in like how you're impacting a fight because you're going to be mostly helping others. And again, it's just an item that is pretty good, and this little bit of extra love here will actually help it fit into more builds.
Okay, and that's all I have on this update for the time being of exactly what's going in next week. However, it is all live already, I believe, on the PTS, Pon.
Yeah, so if you played on Wednesday, it would have been there. So if you're playing on the PTS, it's all there. You'll be able to see it all.
And we'll continue to iterate, make changes based off the feedback you guys send in. So make sure you let us know if you see any issues or something you're concerned about with those as well. But at this point, I guess it's time to open it up to chat.
Yeah.
And see what they have to say about your balanced decisions this week, Pon.
They're all perfect, and I won't have anyone say otherwise.
Someone will just say you've missed something. I will say some that I've seen come up on was Nemesis aspect being quite potent. People getting frustrated with it. I guess it's just because she's hard to kill because of her play style in that role.
We did a lot of things to make that aspect more impactful.
Yeah.
That especially with all the anti-heal stuff that we've changed, it's now a bit more of a spotlight on it. People have kind of figured out how to make it good as well, which is another like part of it. It takes time for people to kind of learn this.
Sure.
It's on our list. We're looking at it. There's other things like I know. Oh, I actually think there were supposed to be some notes about Conquest on here. But there's things like
we talked about this on Monday, I think.
There's another one added, I believe.
Which one?
It's the Health of the Blue Camp.
That is actually on PTS, but I've not got that on here. Yes, I can find that real quick.
TLDR of that change is like solo lane and Sunder abuse in like top level play. This isn't intended to fix it, but it's a move towards that, and it's something we're keeping like our eye on. But the idea would be that like blue is now more soloable by the solo laner. It gives less experience. It gives basically the experience you would expect to get when you were splitting it with a jungler, because the goal is to let the solo laner actually solo it and have the jungler be freed up to try other starts. And that also means that you can kill it faster, which means that you get to lane before like the minions meet and try and kill each other. And missing out on that one minion can be really, really impactful. And so this is supposed to ease that burden there in that lane.
I'll be able to bring it up.
Those types of things are stuff that's like in the forefront of our minds right now. Just this patch is focused on Yorm and these things right now, and then we'll continue. If we need to do emergency balance, we can always do that during an actual hotfix, or we have OB18 to look forward to.
Makes sense. I'm just going to bring these up, so just bear with me.
Are we aware that Joust versus AI is stuck in quick play mode? Can we fix this? Yes, this will be fixed for this upcoming update. It will be changed to be just classic Joust rules. Same for Arena versus AI.
Pop this back on the screen just so you can see those changes there too. I just quickly got them over. But this is all other minor things that are coming in. The pots near the Gold Fury can now be broken with basic attacks. That's for melee gods more than range, because you could do that anyway. Jungle monsters now use their abilities earlier in the attack chain. Have noticed this in PTS already. Yeah. It probably like a second and a half after pulling it is when it starts to use the ability. So some of them will stand still and you won't take damage from them. Some of them will hurt you. And that's my warning there, that you're going to end up taking some extra damage than you may not have expected. Additionally, wind sprites grant Jormungandr a movement speed buff for 2 seconds because he can't jump. And then we get to the actual buff changes. The Oracle camp and mid lane contestable camps, they've been pushed back from 1 minute spawning to 1 minute 30. But more importantly, the blue buff and the purple buff, they're going to see their buff time adjusted. The initial spawn time is going to be now from 25 seconds to 20 seconds. This means they will spawn just before minions meet in lane and potentially give you a chance to get that whole wave if you time it right. But more additionally is the blue buff itself, and what Pom Pom was referring to, which is the buff camp itself has had its health drastically reduced from 975 to 350, along with its protections. The XP that comes from it too, just to note, and the gold have also been adjusted on that camp. So expect to see less experience in gold off this camp, but a lot easier to kill and a lot easier to get to lane quicker is the expectation.
And if you're soloing this, it should be more akin to if you were splitting it at the start of the game with your jungler.
Interesting. Okay. So I expect to see a lot of people be able to do that without necessarily getting the Sunder at the start of the game or getting Sunder and looking for even more aggression because of that as well. So they're kind of the changes that we're going to see in the jungle camps. Apologies for not having that for you all the time.
And then someone was mentioning that the jungle buffs, they have like an X on them now. I didn't know if that was going to get this patch or not, but that one is about like when you kill it, it now has like an X. And then in the last 60 seconds, I believe, that's when the circle timer will appear. And that's just to mean it's a consistent experience when you're looking at that pie wheel. Yeah. Like, you know how long it's going to take.
If you see the pie wheel, it's spawning soon. That's the idea behind it. And the cross it's dead recent.
Yeah, if you've gone to like Gold Fury because you see the pie slice basically filled and you go there and it's like, well, actually it's 20 seconds left. That's the kind of thing we're trying to avoid there. We're trying to make those more consistent across the board.
Yep. So you can't split blue anymore. Yeah, jungler's probably not starting blue in this update, I would say.
I mean, in theory, they could. It's not like it's going to take 2 seconds.
You could.
People are working out.
It seems like people are starting yellow more often in playtest.
I think it'll take a little bit for the real high level comp players to really get to grips with this and work out the best sort of strategies. I can see a lot of different avenues open up for this. Supports could kind of wander into the enemy jungle of this and have your jungler start with the Hunter in purple buff. As a random example.
We also have the mid contestable camps are spawning later, which means that like before you were kind of trying to rush to stay around them to make sure that you were there to contest them on time. Now that they're a little bit later, you could actually take a more kind of greedy farm route in the jungle. You can go try and get a few more camps now. So there's just going to be a lot for people to experiment with and try out.
Makes a lot of sense. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out throughout the games.
Yeah, definitely. The opening flow feels a lot different as a jungler now. So we'll see where it all settles. But hopefully it's something exciting and new to look forward to as a jungler. Why is my blue buff the only jungle buff with CC?
Good question.
My answer is it doesn't matter anyway because it's going to die in 30 seconds. Even less, actually, to be honest. Dude, in 2 seconds.
The yellow buff, though, like, I don't know how many people have actually seen the yellow buff's abilities before now, but like it does like a circle and then a bigger circle and a bigger circle. And eventually the circle gets big enough that you can't actually dodge it and it's going to hit you. And like they start using their abilities soon enough that like you got to kind of rush if you don't want to start to take damage from those big circles. It's like
red buff. I was a bit lazy and I got hit by one and I went into lane. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Suppose always struggle with those camps and now they've just been made more volatile and more dangerous for them. People bring it up the Mercury 3. We are aware of Mercury 3 having some issues. It is being worked on. You've already told me this before, but just reiterating for the audience, it is something we're taking a look at.
I've seen quite a few ranked joust questions today. We don't have any plans for ranked joust at the moment. Ranked joust was always a very, very unpopular mode in Smite 1. It was a very small fraction of the number of people that chose to play joust. Currently we believe that it's not worth splitting the joust player base by adding this queue that's probably going to be very unpopular in Smite 2. There is matchmaking that is occurring in the background, so it's not as though if you are not good, you will not go up against better and better teams in joust. It's just we don't have the you're currently bronze, you're currently silver thing tied to it.
Yeah, there's actually one note that it's just good to remind is can we have all healing numbers for multiple heals stack into one, like with a change with tick damage? That'd be something that I would like to do at some point. It's a UI ask and UI has a lot on their plate, but I do think when you have Vampiric Shroud combined with like a lifesteal item and you go to hit a whole minion wave and you just see ones all over your screen, it would be nice to consolidate them. It's just something we'll get to eventually.
Are we seeing improvements with player counts and reduced queue times? Yes, our numbers have pretty consistently been going up for the past 2 months or so, I would say. And we're continuing to tick upwards. Our current low days are where our high days were a month or two ago. Our new player retention is up. It's probably almost twice as good as it was from when we started this improvement process. People are playing more a week. Everything is trending in the correct direction. And there is absolutely nothing that we are concerned about if we keep moving in the correct direction.
First, I'm mentioning the Daybreak Gavl. In the 1-to-1 comparison, so someone's mentioning it feels like a nerf to the change. It's hard to compare the numbers like that because if you had the 40% scaling and you had a good amount of intelligence, that's a burst of damage. But you would lose those stacks immediately and have to rebuild them up versus these stay forever. It's not like you have 64 int for that one ability instead. It's you have 64 int now for 8 seconds that can refresh and stay on you. So as you get more rotations out of abilities, you'll pretty quickly surpass that 40% pretty quickly. And some characters will do that in one ability if their scaling is enough.
Blue buff. Is it all blue buffs that are weaker? Obviously it would scale from the initial numbers, but it's
good question. So you're talking about the ones that spawn off on the
second wave.
Oh, that's not what I meant. I meant just the second time it spawns, but I suppose that also makes sense for the blue buffs that spawn in the contested camps.
Yeah.
My expectation is, and again, this is Matt would know better. We should double check. But my thought would be that this does affect all blue camp spawns, and it would affect the ones after the first wave as well.
It would.
It would.
Oh,
yeah.
Goodness.
But after the first, it scales based on time in the game, so it would be stronger than the first one, but it wouldn't be
as strong as it
normally was.
Okay.
New name colors when? I think we might have name colors in the next update.
Okay.
So I'm not 100% sure. It might be the one after that. But it's been a while since we've done a name color pack. People tend to like them. We don't want to do them every update or anything because it's they're kind of expensive and they're if we did it all the time, it would not be as cool, I don't think. But maybe once a quarter or so, we'll do a new name color bundle. I see performance updates, please. Thanks. We pretty consistently are working on performance updates in the background. You just may not see us screaming about it because I have found that whenever we say like, oh, we made an improvement to performance, and people are like, I didn't gain 30 FPS. You didn't do your job, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that it's kind of better for us in terms of performance to not like beat our chests about it and be like, hey, it's just getting better and better. And I think that if you have been playing, you've noticed that there have been things that have kind of improved over time. Right now we're working on some big improvements to minions. Minions are some of the more like processor intensive things that we have to do. So we're working on some big improvements to those. There's some stuff we're working on for towers. I know that we're specifically looking into there's some very weird PS5 frame drops that can occur later in a game of Conquest that we're looking into. I could talk more about the details of those, but I don't want to because potentially you could trigger some of them to cause people to have reduced frame rate if they're on PS5. But we're looking into all that stuff.
It is a constant thing.
It's a constant thing. Yeah.
It's not like we're just putting it off for a few weeks and then coming back to it. It is a constant thing to try and work on those things.
Yeah. Our director of engineering, I don't even know what his title is, but VP of engineering maybe. The most senior programmer on the team has basically been full-time tackling a new optimization problem every day for a while now, and we'll continue to be doing that. And it's just kind of chipping away at piece by piece.
Yeah, I know he'll ping me sometimes and be like, hey, I noticed this in the trace that we had. Can you go look at it? Because like sometimes it's like how we configured an item. Like Yorm actually exposed that Golden Blade and Bumbas did the AoE cleaves. The way that we were doing them was very bad. It was not good to the point where in a playtest I caused the processing of actually doing all the cleaves to take longer than a server tick, which meant that like as I was attacking, I just didn't see the attacks register.
Yeah.
And so this patch we cleaned that up, so now it's a lot more performant. But that's the kind of stuff that like is very situational. You wouldn't notice it, but like those types of small things,
all add up.
They all add up over time. So like there's that side of the optimization stuff that we do, and then there's like other sides that are very technically specific to like specific driver sets and specific consoles. So it really depends on what we're doing, but like we're constantly looking at that stuff.
Yeah. Delete Mulan's banner or tell us your plans so we can stop begging you to delete it. We're actually going to add a second banner. That's actually our current plan.
Really?
Yeah, actually, like what I was thinking is that like
Mulan plays the ward anyway, so it's fine.
You're going to place banners along the path of your ult. And then anytime you grab somebody, you'll just leave a banner there, and it's just banners all day.
Bonus experience, bonus movement speed the whole way.
We did talk about putting banners in other people's inventory too.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
It just kind of like spreads up the match.
Yeah. We actually, her new passive, she will put banners in her opponent's inventories, so they have to deal with it.
I think the real answer to the question is that we have a lot of stuff going on at any given time, and the answer to we need to come up with a whole new +1 for Mulan, where this one largely is there and is not super oppressive or super causing problems. Like we get that there's some annoyances to it. It's on our list of things to do. We know about it. We've communicated that before. It's just actually getting through the list to the point where like that's now the thing that we focus on. It's difficult to get there.
Yeah. Thank you for buffing int items.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Did you read that from chat? Or were you just saying that in general?
No, I was just reading it from chat. I don't know. For some reason, like the name of this person, or the color of this person's name was like not a common color, and it just popped out as
okay. Now everyone's going to change that color if they realize who it was.
Yeah.
Just to do it.
That's the secret to getting your question answered is to have the RNG name.
It's really not, but I just was like, sometimes like if it's a different color than's been streaming by, it's like catches your eye, especially with short comments. Short comments are easier for me to read.
Pop on, I like this one. Can you give us a teaser as to what you're thinking will be after Suki? I thought it was a Suki related thing, not a God releasing. I'm sorry, I just baited you.
Yeah,
no teasers yet. Sorry.
Do we know? I mean data mining's already there, right? Surely that's correct the whole time. Always.
It's been correct each time.
Rat's been there the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah,
I will say it is sometimes interesting, and I'm kind of curious.
It's a fun glance to see what they've found.
It's a fun glance to see what they found, and it's also fun to see like certain characters move up in the percentages of likelihood. I'm like, but I haven't looked at that character.
Yeah, it went from 20% to 70%, and you're like, really? Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like I think that if you as a viewer of this show can take data mining with a grain of salt, like usually if data mining turns something up, then it's somebody that we have thought about doing something for. It doesn't mean that they're going to be next, but it does mean that like we at least were experimenting with some idea for them, right? But we might experiment with an idea for somebody and then shelve them for a year, right? It doesn't. It just, you can't get your hopes up too much on what you see. You just have to kind of take it as like this fun little thing about like, oh, what are they thinking about behind the scenes right now? We have some. I'm excited about the gods that we do have scheduled for the rest of the year. I think it's a good mix of like, different. Like classes, obviously, different pantheons, different levels of popularity. We have a couple like less popular gods. People are complaining that we're only doing like the super popular ones. I think
but that would make sense to do that anyway. But yeah, sure.
I mean, just like the thing
people were upset that we were doing less popular. We weren't doing less popular gods. What kind of complaint is that?
You want the good balance.
Yeah, because otherwise you're going to end up where like the run of gods at the end is just like. Nobody cares, right?
Fair.
Like you have to have a little bit of diversity. We're still going to lean towards like more popular gods because it's going to make more players happy to do them. But like we have some that are like slightly less popular that are on the list, a lot of different play styles, quite a few female gods, which is something that we inadvertently skipped for a while. I think it's a good roster, but we will tell you more about who's coming after Tsukiyomi probably right before we do the Tsukiyomi show. That's usually our flow, is that right before we show off the next, the last god that we've revealed, we'll tell you the next two gods that we're going to do.
Yep. Someone had a good question about like Jormungandr is clearly a very difficult god to work on based on his mechanics. Why didn't you work on less complicated gods we released before him? We're constantly juggling a lot of like what actually makes a character difficult to work on, and trying to make sure that we're focusing the difficulty in the right places. So some characters are more difficult on the effect side, some are more difficult on the animation side, some are more programmatically difficult. Some are design difficult. So for example, at some point when we handle Persephone, we will have to make a call about what we're doing with Persephone, old versus new,
15 aspects.
Do we do different stuff?
Yeah.
And so that
just an all new kit. Just throw them both in the trash. We'll start over again.
If we do that Persephone, we do it for Arachne too, because OG
Arachne.
OG Arachne though, with the pull and the
that's the aspect.
Yeah, perfect, done.
Which
I
then
agree.
the VFX team hates me because now they have to, an animation has to go make a animation that wasn't supported on the new rig on the new rig.
You know what we could do? You know who already has a pull and who leaves things on the ground already and just would need a new animation of a tree crawling on somebody's back. It would be fine.
You have a tree. You're gonna. The tree's
Sylvanas
gonna climb
aspect
on
could be old.
Cool.
Could just be
You
old
tell the
That's
team.
what I'm telling you.
You tell the team that's what they're gonna do. So we want you
I'm
to
not.
animate.
I don't tell people what they're gonna do.
Okay.
I just throw out bad ideas,
Okay.
and then they
Modeling team will
do
make,
what's
like,
good
a
idea.
little
You're going
running
to
around
suggest
tree,
it.
like-
Pod's going to go. So what we're going to do is have Sylvanas climb onto an enemy god or goddess, and then they're going to be like, "Wait, what?
Yeah,
really?
it'd be great.
Yeah,
great.
that's,
I mean, it does sound good.
That's old Arachne. So like Sylvanas actually hops off of Grover. You have little mini Grovers as like the spiders.
Okay, if it's if it
And
is actually
because you're
Sylvanas,
already
not
planting
Grover
the
doing it, that's
plants,
great.
and little mini Grovers could just pop out of the plants. It'd be great.
Modeling is really happy right now. But to go back to the original thing, right? Like what might look difficult on one side is
oh dear, what am I hearing?
It's not necessarily easy for everyone. And then there's certain gods that like are like easy for everyone. Like Vimana would be a good example of a god that's easy for everyone. But like I think
Vimana confirmed.
No,
that's what Chad's going to be saying. No, yeah, go on.
We probably want to do some more cool stuff with Vimana that's gonna cause him to take more time, because we know that his kit has had some problematic stuff in the past, and people have asked for some new stuff on him. So like that ends up making it more complicated. We know we probably have some plans for him down the road. So when you look at the list, we're often already trying to optimize that stuff, because we also don't want to just sign ourselves up for the hardest thing to do ever. Yeah, we're balancing how popular a character is, how much it fills out the roster, how much it makes sure that each team can actually handle all the stuff they're doing. If one team is super slammed on the animation side, the next god should probably be someone who's easier on the animation side, and make sure that they're not overworked, stuff like that.
And that's kind of the balance point, really, of like judging. Like, let's not give the animators 10 gods in a row that are really heavy on that side, because we're just really putting them under pressure. Yeah. Let's try and mix that up to make sure each team gets points of stress. You know, like it gets a variable amount there.
Any possibility of Frostbound Hammer returning?
I am a Frostbound and Gem of Isolation enjoyer.
I bet you are.
And I have been held down.
I'm not holding you back. I mean,
to be honest, I'm not as concerned, because Winged Hussars in the game is that the right name?
I think
by that I'm gonna laugh at you. That's what I do.
The goal would probably be get Gem of Isolation into a good balance state that feels like, because right now it's probably a weak item. It's on the weaker end of things.
Sure.
It's weaker because when it's strong, it often feels oppressive and it just falls in everyone's build. It's probably worth trying to find the healthy place for that first, and then tackling Frostbound Hammer.
I used to love Frostbound Hammer, or Kerninos in Winter Stance. They would just not be able to move. Don't
I mean, honestly, Aspect Kern with that nowadays would be pretty good too. Yeah.
Want the entire hammer tree back? Was Shillelagh? That was like the
Shillelagh.
That was the tier
What a great
2?
name.
Yeah, I think so.
It was
Yeah,
a tier 2.
that was great.
There was some wrestler that had a Shillelagh.
Yeah, he's still around too.
Is he?
Sheamus.
Does Sheamus have a Shillelagh?
Well, yeah, Sheamus uses it now and again, but it's also
it's like
Finn. Finley.
Finn Balor?
No, Finley is his name.
Finley.
Finley.
Fit Finley. Yeah.
I was just like Finley.
Someone asked how the stats for quick play joust and player retention. I think we've been pleasantly surprised by like it's actually done really, really well. I think we were concerned that like maybe like quick play arena would be a better introduction, and maybe some people when they went to quick play joust it might retain better in the long term but less in the short term. But like so far it's actually doing really well.
Just better. We're our like new player retention number. It seems like every day we're hitting a new best new player retention number, and it's not that we have fewer players coming in. It's not like we have like more qualified players coming in. There's no explanation for it other than the game is getting better and people are having a better experience and they're sticking around more.
Yep.
So we're going in the right direction.
Yeah, there's a lot of things too. It's not just the quick play. It's not just like that kind of stuff. There's been a lot of other improvements like all over the game.
Yeah.
Every so often it's good to go back and look at old playtest VODs. And like if you do it like by like every 3 months, you get a pretty good sense of like, oh my gosh, the game used to look that way or had this problem.
I think that like there's still so much room for improvement, right? Like
there always will be though. It's a live service game, right?
But even still, like I think the game is at the point now where it's like I find myself personally just like getting sucked in and playing like hours at a time and losing track of time, right? Where like at first definitely wasn't there, right? I play a few games, be like, okay, I'm gonna go do something else, right? You know, and it's like we knew we had work to do, but I think we're starting to get to where it's like the core of the game being great is really showing. And there's still, we know, so much room that we can get it better.
How do we as a community show our displeasure for the anti-heal changes besides not playing the game?
Yeah, pawn.
I mean, we see the feedback around it. It's one of those things where whenever you make any balance change, you're not going to make 100% of people happy.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
If that was ever possible, then our job would be a lot easier. Our goal is to generally do what we think is best for the game, listen to the feedback of what we're seeing people play, how we're seeing people interact with the game, right? Like there's a lot of people who play the game who don't interact online, who will show that they're having more fun because they're playing a lot more, playing more frequently. And then for the people who are giving us feedback, we try and incorporate that in. So for example, one thing we did early on with the NTO Pass was we let the ambassadors know. And they gave us a lot of concerns. They looked at my initial proposal. They gave feedback of, I don't think this is enough. I think you guys have gone too far here. Some people were more anti it than others in it. Some were really positive about it. And I tried to take that feedback and consolidate it into the one that ended up going live, which was, it ended up being more nerfs than I had actually originally planned to do for healers, because I was actually really worried that we were going to nerf healers too much. But yeah, as you're playing, give the feedback. And especially if you can, I'm trying to figure out like the thing that's useful to know is like, is there a particular play pattern or is there like a thing that you're experiencing that is causing a problem? Because if you just go the fact that this character's OP is upsetting, it's like I can look at that character and potentially address that problem. But if you're like every game I feel like fights are going on really long because no one seems to be dying, that gives me a bit more of a direction to go look at stuff. And then we try and consolidate all that feedback in to come to what we think is best for the game. At the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to do what's best for the game. And sometimes what's best for the game, some people aren't as happy with. But that's going to be every single balance change we do ever. If we nerf a character, those mains of those characters thinks that we've turned a perfectly fine character into garbage, and I've had that message sent to me a ton as well. But we always try to do things for the best. I
mean, whenever you change anything, something else is now strong or weak, right? It's a never-ending cycle.
And sometimes if you don't change anything, that changes.
Yeah.
There's one patch where Kali and Smite 1 went up by 5%, and we couldn't find anything that we directly changed with Kali. There wasn't a bug there wasn't anything there. Just Kali ended up, there's something people figured out that was really, really good. The benevolence meta, the 10 benevolence meta, benevolence had been in the game, that state, for about 2 weeks.
Yeah. And
then everyone picked up benevolence and went, oh yeah, that's really, really good to just stack all 10 of them, right? And it took people time to figure that out, but that's the kind of stuff that happens in a game as complicated as a MOBA.
The people yearn for Tablet of Destiny.
We could look at it. I think the for items, we want to try and find new stuff to do for SMITE 2.
When they say the people, do they just mean them?
I'm one of those people. It was a fun item. Isn't that a fun? I like stacking.
It was okay. Yeah.
I have a simple brain.
But then you never played because you're too busy stacking.
That is the game to me, though. It's just like a Numby goes up, and then I'm like, ooh.
Good Numby. Yeah.
You know what? If I keep playing, I'm going to deal more damage, and then I'm going to win. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I think the goal is to try and find some new things that we could do for SMITE 2, but take the best of from SMITE 1. If there's items that people feel like are like really, really interesting. Like one that I know of, Equinox was actually mentioned earlier in chat, having the kind of like backstab effect. That could be just an interesting thing to play with, not even the same way that Equinox implemented it.
Sure.
But the idea of like if you actually get behind someone, you could do something more interesting. Like that kind of stuff is cool design space to play in that we haven't currently yet in SMITE 2.
I see two people asking a very similar question. When is XP for Wandering Market levels going to go back to 3,000 instead of 15,000? So every update, you get a certain number of boosted levels. So every time we do a new update, you will get a bunch of levels at 3,000 XP.
Okay.
And then once you've played quite a lot, it will go up to 15,000 XP. So previously, the way that we did this was we tied it to each new, I think it was each collection. There was like a bigger bucket of them. But now we want to do it just like more regularly. So you're getting more boosted levels overall. It's just the reset is happening every 2 weeks. So with this next update, you will get 3,000, a number of 3,000 XP levels again. And then once you've gotten a lot of those, then it goes up to 15,000. What's your thoughts on the gold pickup, your mid lane?
So I have a very different experience with it than I think most people do. I don't play mid much, so I don't interact with it. So generally when I play mid, it's actually in playtests. And often I will be paired against Clumsy or Caps. And they take it as a personal insult if they don't get that.
Yeah.
And they will often I feel like there's more with Caps. I feel like he'll actually intentionally draft characters that are very good at controlling it. Like, he would just Agni Noxious Fumes in just because he's like, no, this is
not for you.
No.
This is mine.
So that actually ends up making it kind of interesting for me. But we've had feedback, and I think when we have something that we feel like we want to replace it with, when we have time to invest more into it, that's probably one of the first things that will go, compared to more interesting things that we could do there.
Is it just, this is more of a question for chat. Is it the act of picking it up that is not fun, like the interruptible channel, or is it the reward itself? Like, this is a dumb thing, but if it was a Quake quad damage pickup, obviously quad damage would be insane in SMITE, but if it was something more interesting as a reward, would it still be fun? Or is it I don't like that I have to channel and then I get interrupted and that part's not fun?
You know what? I think it's a bit of a balance, because I think where it is right now and what it does in a team, I'm kind of glad it's not ridiculously strong, because it's so simple. But if we were to put something like, let's just say 4 times damage, then that needs a longer cooldown, but also there'll be a big team fight that happens every single time that spawns over which team's now going to do 4 times damage. Let's go do Fire Giant.
Yeah, and that kind of matches things that we've talked about with other roles. That's kind of why we've made totem changes to where that has a more immediate impact. Is one, yeah, sure, it can give a global reward, but it should also feel good for the player who's getting it and feel like they are getting more for it, and it's more obvious what the benefit is. That's the kind of stuff that we're moving in general with a lot of the contestable things. So yeah, it'll probably be the next one to go when we have something to replace it with.
Yeah, it seems low, but I mean, 150 gold per team every single time it spawns for just standing there for 2 seconds isn't terrible. But
yeah. When is SMITE 2 expected to exit beta? Also 3 times worshiper or something. There've been a lot of people asking about 3 times worshiper. I don't know. We'll do bonus worshipers at some point. We generally do it about once a month. So I don't know when we'll queue up the next one, but not
I'll look into it, but that's
not this weekend, but sometime soon probably. We don't have a firm date for when we're going to leave beta. Date and beta became data in my head. But we don't have a firm date for when we're going to leave beta. It really just is when we think the game is ready to be called not beta, right? Like, there's kind of a lot of different phrases for the state that the game is in, right? Like on Steam, we're an early access title. On Xbox, we're a game preview title. On PlayStation, if they had a similar program, we would be in it because we want people to know that this is a game that is actively in development, that we are, our strategy of making games is not we go and we sit away in a closet for 4 years and then we're like, here's a done final game. That's never been the way that Hi-Rez has worked, and I don't think it will ever be the way that we do work, right? We intentionally bring games out like earlier than a lot of people do, very much like an indie game strategy, right? Where it's like they post an early demo on Steam and then they work on it and work on it and work on it. Like if you look at the early like Slay the Spire, it's that way. There's a millions of examples, right? Like that's the way that we make games. We have more of an indie approach to making a game, working with the community and updating it nonstop instead of just like we're going to work with random focus groups and we'll ship something and you'll all like it.
And you'll see it.
Yeah. So it's just a different approach. And like once we get through the process and we get to the point where we think the game is like done, then we'll remove the early access title so people know that it's out of that phase.
But I also feel like with how the game's been designed for SMITE 2, if we didn't include the audience and the community being involved along the way, it wouldn't be where it's at right now.
No, of course not.
And then just to follow that up, a lot of people asking questions about SPL plans. If the game's not even out yet, we're not going to be doing an SPL. We're not going to be doing a Pro League at any point at the moment because the game isn't even ready for it. When we launched SMITE 1, when SMITE 1 was launched, there was still no Pro League then. So it will be a little bit of time before you see any sort of functionality towards a Pro League again. And what the scale of that is really will tell the test of time is what I'll say there, based off where we're at in the stage of the game.
I was at the launch tournament as a player.
And that wasn't Pro League then. There was no Pro League then.
It was community sponsored events with Hi-Rez supporting some small prizing,
which is what we're doing now.
And there's some community pooled events. And then that largely kind of went to a point structure that I think that let you qualify.
It slowly grew. Yep.
Yeah, and then after I think the launch tournament, then it took off a lot more. But it feels very similar to that kind of.
It's just the early days. And I think that's a lot of things for a lot of the fans that have been with us for years at this point. Even the ones that have been around since like season 2, season 1, they didn't see pre-season 1 of there was no Pro League. And at the moment, we don't have a fully finished game to even look at trying to establish anything like that. But we'll see as time goes on.
Yeah, and I somebody says, what about tournaments? So we are supporting tournaments right now where you can play and win cash. We are supporting SMITE Prime, which is...
Well, look at that. Who would have seen that? What a great segue.
Yeah,
wasn't even planned for.
Yeah, $7,000 a month, which is, and a lot of diamonds. So if you're not one of the top teams, you still are going to get something. Yep. And we're also supporting a lot of community leagues with diamonds. So, just play a little competitive and, you can get some free diamonds. So.
No, completely true. We do have a lot of different community tournaments going on in different regions. Obviously, North America seems to be the focal point of a lot of the community tournaments. Doesn't mean we're not interested in working with others around the globe. And my door is always open and people message me after the last show and we actually touched base on a few questions there. But yeah, there is competitive tournaments there. There's not a huge funding of cash prizing, guys, because it's still early days. But we do have cash prizing available and diamond prizing to support those leagues that want to run.
Someone asked the question, what's the most interesting feedback thread? I've seen this one. I've been trying to think on it the whole time, so I didn't want to leave you hanging because we're getting close to time. It's one of those things where, I see a feedback thread, I kind of, compartmentalize what we're going to take from it, and then I move on. And, it just doesn't stick. I have a really hard time answering, the what's the most interesting feedback thread. A lot of the time, it's, I think the one that most recently came up that was pretty impactful was, the mage itemization. People are like, hey, mages feel really weak right now, and there's a whole sub-thread in that one that people were talking about, but, these items end up feeling pretty good if I build this, but, if I try and build any of these other things, I kind of branch out and don't feel as good. I went and looked at the data that was there, and I was like, actually, I think we can make some pretty easy adjustments here with the time that we have, because we're balancing also, keep in mind, the people who are working on God's trying to get them stood up, and trying to also work on the next character coming out and aspects. We're also doing the balance. Yeah. And so it's just, that was one of those things that actually directly influenced us getting it into this patch. We have kind of a backlog of things we know we want to have bigger arcs of work on that we tend to tackle if we don't have anything else that comes up. But that comes up, and it's interesting to see the sub discussions there, and then what I end up taking from that to actually go decide for balance. That and also like ambassadors end up getting like some early looks at like some stuff that we're doing, and so sometimes like they especially are like very they're often very back and forth. It's interesting to see how they talk with each other and how they bounce ideas, and sometimes they'll come up to a conclusion, and sometimes they'll be like, nope, I just think you're terribly wrong, and they have disagreements, and then we get the fun job of consolidating all that
into one overall decision. I mean, I will say I want to give some credit to the ambassadors as well, because like Pon said, we do talk to the ambassadors pretty regularly about all the changes and stuff that we're making. Sometimes we'll listen to a lot of their advice, but also we'll take it under advisement whenever we make these decisions. So they do a great job of assisting the game, and they are actively playing the game consistently as well.
Flair literally just asked me if he could read my post in God Balance. I think I know it's the one you're talking about. I haven't actually had a chance to look at it yet, but I will look at it hopefully later today.
Later on. Well, it is 2:00, so you know what time it is.
It's time for one more question.
Hey, Pog, great job.
Yeah, I was reading and I heard this it start. I'm like, oh no, I have to say it.
So one more question each from the list, if we can find one before we wrap it up. Reminder, PTS is already up and available all weekend long in custom games. You guys can join in with some friends, open a lobby, get people involved, and check out what's coming to the patch. I believe the update will be on Tuesday.
Yes, that's the plan.
The targeted date. So keep an eye for Tuesday to see all these changes go on through. And by this point, by me just waffling there, you should have found a question, you two. That's what my hope is.
I'm going to pick a fun one. Who on the team has put in vacation time for Silksong's release? I have not seen any vacation requests come in yet. But obviously a very anticipated game. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to plug Crypt Custodian, which I just finished recently, and I liked better than Hollow Knight. That maybe is a hot take. I think Hollow Knight is very good, but I think that there are some things that I don't think it's the greatest Metroidvania of all time. You know, that's my personal take. I play a ton of Metroidvanias.
You are addicted to it, from my understanding. You're very excited every single time I've seen the one come out. So.
I'm definitely going to play Silksong when it comes out. But try Crypt Custodian. I just wrapped it up and I thought it was like really, really good.
I'll save mine for Hell Let Loose Vietnam when that comes out. I think it's next year or two, so I'm excited about that one.
It's actually, I guess, more of a question at Hindu Man or Alex? I don't know.
Sure.
It's the patch notes we used to voice credit skins, and we don't have that.
Yeah,
I think that's just someone has to actually go get the information and put it on the doc.
Maybe I think oversight. If you're just trying to give me work chart, thanks. I'll look into it.
I think it's two things. I think it's that the people that used to do that, aren't here anymore feeding that information along.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that like. We only usually do it for like new content releases.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah, that was.
And most of our recent patches have had a lot more like ported gods, classic skins, and we aren't going to put the voice actors for things that we have already said who the voice actors are.
That was your question?
I guess. Yeah.
Good job. Well, I'll try and find one real quick because I wasn't really looking. But
you can also throw one at me if you think it'd be
sure.
fun.
Can we please have agility relic to be able to be bound to regular relic Pon? I didn't mean to do that one, but just the first one I saw.
That's
Fix it, Pon.
That's especially now that I think we're at a point where like agility relic is here to stay.
Yep.
We've actually gotten to pretty good spots. We do need to probably handle some of the UX and UI around it and making sure that all works really smoothly. It was very much we had this in quick play. We wanted to give it a way for players who experience quick play to experience it outside of quick play.
Yep.
This was the way to do it the fastest that we could. And so now it's time to do the kind of polished paths and stuff.
So in the future is the answer there.
Yeah, there is. I know there is a capacity to rebind it to some degree, but it resets often or it doesn't quite work in some cases. So it's really about polishing and cleaning that up. And yeah, we should prioritize that now because it looks like it's here to stay.
Well, with that, I thank you both for joining me today. And also thank you for joining us as well for this update notes of the balance review. Again, reminder, PTS up all weekend on Tuesday, and then we do the drink track.
Chat is reminding us, yes, the Alani check.
The Alani check, but no one's going to do
nobody
Alani.
has an Alani today.
No one has an Alani.
I know.
It never ends. We've got an orange monster.
Yeah.
I have sparkly water.
And I once again have water.
Yeah, I need to get back on the Alani train. I had like barbecue for lunch, and I just ate way too much food, and I'm like, I don't know if I want like something heavy.
Yeah, you must have been light, really. Yeah, makes sense. Well, thanks again for all tuning in. Look after yourselves, and we'll see you on the battlegrounds. Take care. Bye-bye.